right, pilgrims, a very good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Good Day Grenada. I'm George Grant, thanking you so much for joining us. You know, just before I punched the button here this morning, I was thinking, is it just me or do the weeks seem to get shorter the older we get? Don't know about you, man, but it seems to me like just a couple of days ago, we were saying good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Good Day Grenada. I don't know, it just seems like the weeks get shorter and the years as well, yeah? Can you believe it? In just a month and 3 days or so, Christmas Day. And then in a month and 8 days, 5 weeks, New Year. That's life. Let's be thankful. We're breathing, have a roof over our heads, and something to eat. Let's be thankful. Pilgrims, let's see here. What's going on here this morning? Ernesto is first this morning. Hazel is second. Peter Bishop is out there in Long Island. And Grenada Sunshine is saying Good Friday? Oh, that Good Friday. Yeah, Good Friday, says Grenada Sunshine. Kipling sending his blessings. Bernard saying good morning. And let's see here. John is saying yes to your question, George. Yeah, John, you're experiencing that too, eh? So I'm not alone. Well, my dear friends, let's, here. Grenada Sunshine says, even young people are thinking that time is running swiftly. Are you a young people, Grenada Sunshine? In other words, are you 18 or under? Yeah. Let's take a look at what we're going to get into this morning over the next hour, hopefully. And I say hopefully because I have not spoken with Brian this morning, and I'm hoping that he will show up. But in the meantime, we're going to begin by asking the question this morning. Why has the oil and gas hype, why has that gone so quiet? That's a question that needs to be answered. And we're going to try and provide you with a quasi-answer this morning. We have a little video that we're going to share with you. And then, an inspirational piece. Nice way to end the week, my dear friends. Nice way to end the week. And this is deep. It is deep because it happens more often than you would think. This piece is captioned, "Say it out loud. I am not that car salesman." So what is he talking about? Well, just hang on there for a minute and you're going to find out. Then, of course, we do have the national report for you. And as I mentioned, I do hope that Brian shows up a little later on for his Friday morning pit stop. So there you have it, Pilgrim. That's what we're going to be doing over the next hour or so, and we're delighted that you're a part of it. Let's see here. Okay, Grenada Sunshine says, no, I'm not. Okay, so she's not in there. Are you over 75? Just kidding. Don't answer that, Grenada Sunshine. Don't. Gene Pascal. Hello there, Gene. How are you? Saying good morning. And Lawrence Kruthoff says he's with us. Nice to have you as always, sir. Still looking forward to meeting you face to face one of these days. Okie dokie. Now, let us get into our first little video here this morning. It's 4 minutes after the hour. By the way, Sharon has chimed in. She says, I'm on the mend, so back on track tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Uh-oh. Beach time tomorrow morning. Haven't been to the beach in about a week or so. Yeah. So Sharon, you're going to wake me up early on a Saturday morning, eh? The only morning of the week when I have to... Just for you, Sharon? Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow morning. Okay. We have a Sharon, S-H-E-R-R-O-N, and a Sharon, S-H-A-R-O-N, who's saying good morning from Fort Lauderdale, Sharon Simmons, nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Wendy Ann Farry Simon, hello, Wendy Ann Farry Simon. Saying good morning. And John says, word on the street, George, is KCM was threatened by whoever that they wanted their drugs back, or else. Hence the full lockdown here on Monday. Oh, you're talking about that big drug bust out there in Carriacou? Oh, I haven't heard about that. But do you think that the RGBF would tell us about that? Not holding my breath. Good morning there, Fitzroy. And a good morning to you too, Margaret. So nice to see you guys. Mickaman Alexander is there. And so is Claude Pudna. Wow. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Just let me refresh this little thingy here so I'll see you guys as you come in. Let's make sure, yeah. Seems like the stream's going out just beautifully on Facebook there this morning. And by the way, you know me, I like to give Jack his jacket and credit where credit is due. Yes, despite all the hassles we have had over the last year, I have to be very honest and admit to you that the last couple of weeks, we had some pretty good streams. Last night, we had an interruption, but that had nothing to do with the internet people. We had a power outage during last night's edition of McWe Chat. But we did get the whole thing recorded, and it's up there on all the platforms, so you can check it out. Barbara and Jack. Hello, Barbara and Jack. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, folks, whatever happened to the hype surrounding Grenada's oil and gas find? Remember that? The run-up to the last election, remember that? Well, let's take a look of what was said on one night on an election platform in 2018. This little video, it's about 3-4 minutes long, and it comes to you in two parts. Did you notice, as you watched the budget presentation this week, that there was no mention made of anything pertaining to the millions of dollars which were supposedly headed our way because of oil and gas? Well, I'll tell you. Following the budget presentation, we learned that there is, indeed, a problem. Check this out.
When Gregory Bowen and myself and the former NNP government started, based on some studies that we saw, because as scientists we understand science, we decided that we must look at the potential for oil and gas in Grenada. We started and negotiated and we advertised, and a company called GPG was the only one who satisfied and met the conditions we set. So we went into arrangement with them for the possibility of drilling for oil and gas in our waters. Sisters and brothers, therefore I want to say to you tonight, after all the headaches, one well was drilled. There were results that we wanted to confirm before we make a noise. Sisters and brothers, the report said that we have found significant gas and oil in the waters of Grenada in one well so far. You know what that means for your future? It means a lot for the future of this country. Sisters and brothers, one well. We have several more wells which are even more exciting than the one they just found. In other words, Grenada can be a massive supplier of oil and gas.
I still want to answer the question of the hydrocarbon.
The hydrocarbons, yeah.
What is happening to us? Remember, we have serious finds, and we drilled 2 wells already, and we got very optimistic results. The problem we have is that these are not enough for we want to drill a few more wells, and it looks good. The prospects are good because the way we drill, more or less possibilities in terms of estimates than areas that we have not drilled. The problem is because of the large find in Guyana, many of the development activities with the large find and Venezuela situation, a number of the firms are using the opportunity with the problem in Venezuela to get sweet deals. Right. So we are caught in between, but they're still pursuing, and the Minister of Energy will be discussing the potential opportunities there. So the prospects are still good, but we just have not been able to get the investors have not been able to raise the necessary resources to do the drilling, because it costs a lot of millions to do one drill, to one well. So that's the problem we're facing.
All right. What exactly was the Prime Minister saying? You know, he danced around the bush a lot in that response, and I don't know. Last night, while we were doing Mekwi Chat, we were trying to interpret what he was saying, and it seems to be that he's saying that, you know, somehow because of the massive oil find in Guyana, the interest of developers, explorers, if you will, has somewhat dwindled. And the bottom line is that they're having problems finding money to do this drilling. You know, why then did we make such hefty pronouncements just before the last election? Ask yourself that question. John here is saying, so is it 1 drilling or 2 drillings? Swandi Fabio Sam says, Pappy Show. Well, now I know how you spell Pappy Show. I thought it was P-A-P-P-Y. He says P-A-P-I-S-H-O-W. Okay. And then John says, the people of Grenada got hoodwinked yet again. Margaret says, to quote the great Bob Marley, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Yeah, Mikes. Okay, folks. Mr. Pitt, I'm not going to him yet, but I just want you to know that he is there. It looks like a newly scraped head. I don't know. We'll find out when we talk to him in just a few minutes. So Brian is going to be joining us at the bottom while he sets up his camera. However, in the meantime, I want you to take a look at this, because I think this is really sound advice. Never judge a book by its cover. You've heard that before. Mom and Dad always said that to you, didn't they? I'd like you to watch this next piece very carefully. And then, after you've watched it, I want you to say out loud, I am not that salesman. Take a look. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
Man, that baby just showed up. That right there, that's the new Rolls-Royce 2020 Dawn. You know what the commission is on that? 10 grand. Yeah. Do you know what I could do with 10 grand? A lot.
Well, I'm sure that whoever buys this car is going to be really, really happy.
Okay, yeah. But more importantly, I'm going to be really happy when I make that $10,000 commission.
Uh-huh.
Plus, I bet, if I sold that car, they'd make me the sales manager here.
Excuse me, is this the new Rolls Royce?
That's a $350,000 car, sir. It's really expensive. I don't know if you can afford it.
Well, is there any way I can see the inside?
Look, man, I really don't want to be rude today. I just don't want to waste my time,
Yes,
okay?
you can see the inside, sir. Let me grab the keys for you.
That guy's clearly going to waste your time, okay? Look at him.
Look, things aren't always what they seem. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay. Sir? Can you please not touch the car? I want to make sure it's clean for when somebody who can actually afford it comes in to buy it, you know? You get it, right?
Excuse me, is that the new Rolls Royce?
Yes. Yes, it is. Hello. I'm Jake.
Paul, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What do you think here, Paul?
She's perfect. Midnight blue, all the options, exactly what I've been looking for.
I can grab the keys if you'd like, and we can take it for a spin.
No. I've seen what I need to see. I'll take it. Let's sign the paperwork.
My man. That's quick. I like that.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, actually, you're late. This is my friend Paul, and he just offered to buy the car. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So does that mean it's sold already?
Well, no, not yet, but it's about to be. Let's go sign the paperwork in my office. That one over there on the corner. Yeah. A little piece of advice. Don't waste your time with poor-looking people. Maybe you'll sell a car.
And you should never judge a book by its cover.
Oh, you're giving me advice. That's cute.
I am so sorry about that. Did you have any specific questions about the car?
Great. And I just have to send this off and wait for approval from the bank, and then we're good to go.
Great. I can't wait to get behind the wheel, man.
Oh yeah, man, you're gonna look real good in that thing, especially because you got the suit, right? Then you got the watch. Now you got the expensive car to bring it all together. Everybody's gonna know that you're a multimillionaire, my friend.
Yes! That's exactly the look I'm going for.
Well, it's a V12 engine, 6.75 liter with 563 horsepower.
Wow, that's very impressive. You know, you're very knowledgeable.
Well, I've done my homework. Actually, there's a sales manager position that just opened, and I'm really hoping they consider me for it.
You know, I'm wondering, how come you're wasting your time on a poor-looking person like me? You must think that I can't afford to buy this car.
Well, I'm all about helping people. And besides, I've learned to never judge a book by its cover.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Oh, that can't be right.
Is something wrong?
It's saying that your credit wasn't approved. Don't worry, let me try again. This happens sometimes.
Come on, man. I need that car. I need people to think that I'm rich.
I don't know what's going on. It said your credit's still not approved. But no worries. We'll do cash. $350,000.
$350,000? I don't even make that much in 10 years.
What do you mean? That right there is a designer suit. I know you can afford this car.
Don't be fooled by the suit. I'm actually broke. But hey, can I still test drive the car?
Oh. How did it go? Did you make the sale?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't. Yeah, no, that guy didn't have any money.
I'll buy it. Please, start the paperwork.
That's great. Oh, wow. I'll get right on it. Thank you.
No. Okay. I don't mean to rain on your guys' parade, but there's no way that this guy is getting approved for a loan. I mean, look at the way he's dressed.
Loan? Who said anything about a loan? I'm paying cash.
Okay. I am genuinely confused. Where did you get all that money?
I'm a multimillionaire. And I dress like this because I want people to help me for me and not for my money. By the way, young lady, I know the boss here. And I'm going to make sure that he knows that I think you would make a fantastic manager.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. This is going to change my life.
And I'm also going to make sure that he knows about you as well.
Here's a piece of advice. Next time, don't judge a book by its cover. And maybe you'll sell a car. Hmm?
I need that car because I want people to think I am rich. You know, folks, believe it or not, sad to say, but that goes on in this day and age even more than you might imagine. All right, now, time to say good morning to Mr. Brian Pitt. We're gonna save the national report for last this morning. I don't like to keep this honored guest of mine waiting. There he is. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, George. I'm fine. It's good to be here with you. I was hoping to be here a little earlier, but I guess you're the boss.
Brian, I'm sorry you couldn't see what we were just looking at here, but it was worth the wait. And by the way, I started this morning by teasing you. Did you get a haircut?
Well, I don't have too much hair, but I extended my forehead a little bit so that people will recognize me when I walk the street.
And you know, when I was a lot younger, I used to be worried about this receding hairline. I hate to see a lot of forehead. And when I realized that my hair was receding, boy, I went into panic mode. I have to be honest with you. I just didn't like it. But now I'm kind of used to it, you know?
Yeah, I'm used to it. I do it and I walk the street and I don't care anymore.
John,
what you see is what you get.
John says he likes your shirt. He says you have a nice shirt on there this morning.
Well, thank you, John.
So, Brian,
yeah.
Before I start throwing things at you, by the way, just sit back a little bit because we want to see the that's a lot better. Want to see the whole face.
Okay. Let's go.
Before I start throwing things at you, tell me what's up your sleeve this morning?
George, there's a lot happening. Why don't you start throwing some stuff at me? Maybe I better start with something that Tobias Clements. You know, George, this is interesting to me because I was a little surprised that he did not make this move a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to complain about your wage as a MP, then the logical thing is to become the leader of the opposition. You get to appoint 3 senators. There's a budget for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So automatically you're making a lot more money than you're making as a member of Parliament. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's interesting, George? And I'm going back to constitutional reform. There were some lawyers in the last go-around that was trying to convince us that the CCJ was the most important decision that we can make in terms of constitutional reform. And I totally disagree with them. This is a classic case. Tobias Clements in his constituency probably have, and I'm going to take a wild guess now, let's say 5,000 people. Yeah? So he won his constituency with a population of, let's say, I stand corrected, 5,000 people.
Okay.
Now he crossed the floor and he became leader of the opposition. So his 5,000 people is now represented by the leader of the opposition and 2 senators. The senators that were there, the 2 senators that were representing the NDC, represented 40,000 people.
Yeah.
George, And there is the problem that I have when we're talking about constitutional reform. This imbalance that has now taken place is a travesty. Now, power to Mr. Clements. He now has his 5,000 people he's representing in the House, and he's going to get 2 Senate appointments to further represent them in the upper house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, George?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anytime we talk in constitution, we have to talk governance and representation of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, George?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to get that off my chest this morning because it bothers me.
Were you happy with his decision?
Well, it's a decision that he had to make.
And like you said,
it's a decision that he had to make. And if a friend told me that the Prime Minister was now talking about he likes to have opposition. So there's a person in opposition now which he thinks is healthy. But now the NNP controls the whole thing, you know, George.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that Mr. Clements can leave the New National Party unscathed.
Yeah, yeah. Time will tell. You know, did you buy into the explanation he gave for his resignation? That was his concern about the control that the party now has over the constituency offices.
No, I don't buy into all that nonsense. That's. I mean, he gave us the reason many times over that he don't think he was making enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the money, George. Whether the money is his personal, what he gets personally, or money for his constituents, he did not agree with the allocation. But that does not speak to his participation in a government that had questionable governance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, George?
Mm-hmm.
So until and unless he's gonna tell us what has been disappointing to him in the time that he was part of an administration with questionable governance and an accusation of some corruption, then I don't accept what he said.
Listen to a couple of comments here. First of all, John says, in my humble opinion, Tobias is crossing the floor to kill off the NDC from the inside, like Peter David did.
Well, our Constitution gives him the right to do that. Yes?
Yes.
Our Constitution gives him the right to do that. And, you know, when I look at what's unfolded in Dominica, George, I'm going to just shift the conversation out a bit. You know, it's interesting.
We're going to get to Dominica big time in just a minute, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. But you know, I think Mr. Clements is doing the right thing as far as he's concerned. At least you have an opposing voice. And he has to get equal time, I imagine, in the debate on the budget. Yes? Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing for him, and I think it's a good thing for his constituents. So let's see what happens.
Ryan says, Toby has just had his epiphany. Kudos to him. Grenada needs proportional representation. No matter what, Toby says, he is unhappy with the NNP.
You know, I heard you playing earlier on an interview with the Prime Minister after the budget, which talked about oil and gas. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Actually, that was a presentation just before the budget, one of those campaign platforms.
Oh, it was. But he also did an interview, I believe, after.
Right after the budget, yes.
Right. And when he was trying to explain this whole oil and gas situation.
Right.
Yeah. But George, the exploration of oil and gas depends on the cost of getting the oil and gas from where it is to the market. Yes? Mm-hmm. In the case of Guyana, I believe most of it is on land. I believe the cost is a lot less than pulling it out to the bottom of the sea. Yeah? So if you have, maybe that's why you have Exxon in Guyana and some people with questionable character in Grenada. Yes? Mm-hmm. So the cost of exploration is important. The price on the world market for the product is also important. Now, a lot of countries who have large reserves budget on the world price of oil and gas. Yes? Mm-hmm. So in Trinidad, for example, they will budget on what they believe the world price is going to be. I don't believe that we have that luxury in Grenada. But in listening to the impeachment in the United States, and I don't follow the impeachment, George, on a regular basis, but I do listen to my to some comedians. That's where I get my impeachment news. From Trevor Noah, from Trevor Noah and Stephen Colbert. Yeah, that's where I get my impeachment news. But I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, there was this talk about getting the Prime Minister or the President of Ukraine to talk about the investigation. Yeah. Yes? And this is the line that was used. Let him get to a microphone and talk about it. I don't care whether he does the investigation or not. Yeah. That signals that you are talking to your constituents. Just give them some red meat. They will swallow it and they will vote for you. Yeah. And that is exactly what is happening here. Maybe this is why I don't listen to budget speeches, George, because budget speeches, you get before a microphone and you talk about it, and the people who adorn themselves with their best hats and suits to go and listen to me will swallow everything I say. Yeah. And vote for me. Yeah. Now, all we have to hope is that those people are getting in fewer numbers, and that people will look at the estimates of revenue and expenditure to really find out what's going on.
I just want to linger here for a bit on the Toby issue. Kipling Francis says, so what would happen to the two NDC senators if he becomes the opposition leader? Oh, and the independent senator, since he is allowed to have 3 senators.
Well, they will have to be removed.
That's what we're talking about.
They will have to be removed.
That's what we're talking about. T.F. Richard says, we have to just wait and see what's his behavior from here on. That's the only time we'll really see what Toby is made of.
Well, Toby has some negotiating chips. And he can very well negotiate with the NDC so that their senators stay on board, but he has some role in the NDC organization.
Right.
He is in a pretty good position to negotiate.
Yeah. Margaret says, this crossing of the floor always bothered me. People are elected based on the party they ran on. Shouldn't the person just resign entirely and then call a by-election? Just thinking out loud.
I suspect, George, that Mr. Clement became the representative for that area because the majority of people voted for the leadership of the party, Dr. Keith Mitchell. Yes? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, there was some question and maybe an objection to the electoral office about people moving from one constituent to the other in that particular constituency. Because his constituents, I believe, borders the Prime Minister's constituents.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. So I don't know that the majority of people would have voted for him.
Good point.
So it's a good point.
Good point.
But ethically, I don't know that some of these politicians care about that or care about ethics involved. They are just making decisions based on the now.
T.F. Richard says that is definitely true about Grenada politics. But then the conscious-minded might say, after all, he is still our voice in Parliament, and they may well support him still. Let's wait and see. Ernesto says, Toby becoming the opposition is good for Grenada, but may not be for NDC. why he doesn't have to choose anyone from NDC, which leaves NDC without a voice in Parliament.
Well, George, think this thing through. We are now going to, I think they're going through now the debate on the budget, yes? So Toby can get up there when it's his turn to speak and talk about what is wrong in his constituents and how can the government help, whether it be roads or drains or whatever. He can promote his constituents and expose the government for lack of doing anything to his constituents or with his constituents. So this could be an opportunity for him to sway people in his constituents that they should vote for him the next time and not for Keith Mitchell.
Time will tell. All right, Brian, let's turn to Dominica here for just a minute. Did you see a statement issued? By the way, last night on McWeChat, we were told by somebody in Dominica, Anthony Martin, that you can expect all the activity they've been having up there to be accelerated starting today. So we haven't seen the end of it. But did you see the statement issued by the U.S.'s permanent representative to the UN about Dominica?
Yes, George, Dominica is troublesome. And let's look at the statistics in Dominica. Dominica has a population of about 60,000 people, approximately. They have 21 constituencies, I believe. I stand corrected on that. 21 constituencies. So it's very easy for somebody to pad a polling division and to win a seat in Dominica if you are the ruling party. Yes? So this whole idea of reform in the electoral process is important. And I believe maybe the OAS have recommended those changes in Dominica over time, but it is not to the best interest of the party in power to do that because they have been winning. Yes? So
same thing here, Brian. Same thing here, Brian.
Well, of course. I mean, and these reports come about and they're filed away and nobody make any changes as per the recommendations. And it is problematic for a lot of these islands, George, if the elections, but by the way, most of these observer groups will make these recommendations for change, but still say the elections were free and fair.
Exactly. Yeah. So not even them, not even they, could you believe?
Well, I mean, nothing will change until and unless some of these agencies hold up grant money. Because I wanted to note that a lot of these countries totally depend on grant money for their budgetary needs. Yes? So if the OAS will say, listen, we're not disbursing any more funds, and any organization aligned to us will not, until you do X, Y, or Z, then no changes will take place. But that we have not seen over time. So it is almost as if in order to get change, people have to resort to social disorder. And if social disorder starts, eventually the powers that be will call out the armed forces, and you're looking at conflict. Yes, George?
Yeah. By the way, Oswald Pele Darbo says to you, yes, it is 21. The DLP in power has 15 seats and the UWP 6. Brian, a little while ago, you mentioned that, what's happening up there in Dominica is worrisome. And I'll tell you why it really bothers me. As I mentioned, it seems like we have the same problem here in Grenada where recommendations were made for reform to the electoral process and totally ignored. And look at what's happening in Dominica. Brian, I think people are watching Dominica very closely. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if I see that sort of attitude that you're seeing in Dominica spread around the region, So far, Grenadians have been very docile. They have sat back and just taken it. But eventually, there comes a breaking point. And I think back in 1979, people did prove that here, that, you know, you can only take so much. And that's what scares me. That's what really, really bothers me, Brian. How about you?
Well, you know, George, when you look at the series of events that has taken place over time in Grenada, the removal of Judy Benoit, questionable, the moving of the electoral office, the computerization of the said office. Now I think we're facing a situation where a lot of these cards are expired, so we all have to go out and get some new cards, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Grenada, like in Dominica, this citizenship by investment program is giving a lot of people a passport. Does that give them the right to vote? You know, so there are a lot of conditions that exist that people should be very conscious of, that can influence the results of a poll. Not leaving out the idea that it takes a lot of money to run a campaign right now, and that these governments have access to or is being financed by people and organizations with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're correct. And Brian, you know,
no, the question is what we're going to do about it.
You just mentioned in passing CBI, Brian, and I just want to give you a little heads up. I'm searching here for the date because I want to be correct on this. Have you heard of a television network called Al Jazeera?
Yes.
Okay. They were here earlier on this year doing an investigation into the CBI. And they put together a program called Diplomats for Sale. All right? I'm trying to see the date here. This is going to be aired on at 8 o'clock on Monday the 25th. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's this coming Monday? Yeah, this coming Monday.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Brian, whatever you do, try not to miss that program. Try not to miss it.
Okay.
Try not to miss it.
Al Jazeera. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else, my friend?
George, I have not completed the reading of the budget. And I don't know that I want to. Because, let me put it this way. The Nobel Prize for Economics this year went to a lady whose study kind of dispenses of this gross domestic product idea as a yardstick for measuring how a country is doing, and instead spoke about rising, how do you get people out of poverty? How does people get a living wage? Not a minimum wage, but a living wage. Yes?
Yeah.
And it is very instructive that we continue to talk about gross domestic product. When the gap between rich and poor seems to be widening, when people do not have a living wage, when in most countries in the world now trade unions are on the rise again because of this increasing gap between the haves and the have-nots and the rich and poor. And I think it's time that our trade unions take stock of themselves as to whether or not they want to represent the people's interest in increasing people's living wage. And I heard the Prime Minister, or I read in part of his speech that he was objecting to suggestions that the fiscal responsibility legislation, that some people have suggested amendments to that legislation, which is now responsible for a GDP position that is acceptable by international organizations.
Yeah.
A lot of bullshit, to be quite honest, just with my language.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are you talking about? If you have to amend this thing, you're amending it for the better. You're not amending it just for the sake of amending it. Yes? But we must be very careful in today's world, George, as this gap widens. People are going to get upset. that they cannot or will not have a living wage. And we're getting very close to that right now, George.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to read a budget. I don't know if any mention was made about our debt to Venezuela and the Petrocaribbean. I don't know if any mention was made of how much money we're making on the CBI program. But I look forward to the revenue and expenditure to see if those numbers really exist.
All right. We're planning on, for people who may have missed it, we're going to try and run the budget on Sunday morning. And we also have some people coming in here to have a discussion on that budget. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, George. Have yourself a great weekend.
I wish you the same. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Mr. Brian Pitt, my dear friends, on a Friday morning. Hey, hey, hey. Always try to wrap up the weekend on a pretty good note. I think while we may not have been too happy with what we heard, at least it gives us some food for thought. Margaret says, thank you, Brian, for raising the issue of IMF metrics and GDP living wages. Came up on MWC last night, McWe Chat last night. Yes, it did. Too often we focus on metrics and leave out the human cost. Absolutely, Max. Pilgrims, let me take a little break here and then, my first break for the hour. Aye. We'll be back.
Christmas safety tips. Always unplug Christmas tree lights before leaving home or going to sleep. Check your tree lights and outdoor lights for damage each year before you use them. Discard lights with frayed wires, loose connections, and cracked sockets. Do not overload your wall outlets or extension cords. Remind children never to touch lights or outlets. Select lights appropriately. Never use indoor lights outside or vice versa. Happy holidays from Grenlec.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in Grandans, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, we'll give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Former Finance Minister says clear protocols must be established for wage negotiations. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Thursday, November 21st. I am Rikisha St. Louis. Government needs to establish clear protocols for wage negotiations. That's according to Parliamentary Representative for St. Patrick West, Honorable Anthony Boson. Making his contribution to the $1 billion 2020 budget in Parliament on Thursday, Minister Boson said wage negotiations must follow clear protocols, which must be guided by facts and not emotions. The MP said for too long, unions make demands that are unreasonable without considering the consequences on the economy. Boson said moving forward, protocols must be guided by the cost of living, productivity index, and the fiscal responsibility law.
I do believe, however, and that's my opinion, that the time has come for us to establish clear protocols between which wage negotiations should take place. Mr. Speaker, I do not believe that in this modern time, someone should just come and just pick a figure out of the hat and say, I want 20, 40%, without any relationship to facts whatsoever, Mr. Speaker. And in this protocol, Mr. Speaker, I am suggesting that in addition to using the fiscal responsibility law as the overall framework, we should use certain indicators, like the cost of living index, and a very important one that we tend not to include or deliberately leave out is a productivity index, Mr. Speaker.
He emphasized that it must be made clear-cut if one is not producing, they should not earn.
Wages must be linked to productivity. If you are not producing, you cannot earn. Plain and simple. But we tend to leave out productivity and look only at the other aspects of things, Mr. Speaker. Wage negotiations, in my opinion, should be based on facts and not emotions.
Government recently ended negotiations with unions that spanned over a year. Boson commended the unions who recently signed onto the wage agreement for recognizing that failure to operate within the fiscal responsibility law and targets will have dire economic consequences. Grenada's Finance Minister, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, says there are areas in the public service in dire need of institutional strengthening. During the presentation of the 2020 estimates in Parliament on Wednesday, Dr. Mitchell said these areas must be addressed as a matter of urgency to further propel economic growth and development.
The issue of exorbitant charges and the misuse of government cell phones have revealed significant leakages and malfunctioning in the system. The misuse of cell phones by persons within the system and those who already left the system caused major embarrassment to this government and to myself specifically as Minister of Finance. A complete review has been undertaken, and we have just had the results, which have indicated the persons who are already out of the system and should no longer have access to the service. Steps are now being taken with support of the service provider to recover those monies. That is the commitment of this government in this budget.
The finance minister added that his government cannot sit back and allow systematic failures to manifest themselves through irresponsible expenditure and poor accountability.
During the first quarter of 2020, government will undertake a comprehensive review of its recurrent and capital expenditure as part of efforts to improve accountability in the public service. The review would also provide concrete recommendations to strengthen expenditure controls and institutional mechanism for expenditure management, as well as improve the efficiency and effectiveness of public spending.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Did you join the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985, and have since retired? This might be important to you. Government understands that the NIS pension may be insufficient to take care of your needs. So, while it awaits the court's ruling on the matter of pension for public officers, government has taken action to protect your quality of life so that you can take care of your needs in the meantime. Persons who joined the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985, and serve continuously in an established position for a minimum 26 years and 8 months and retired at age 60 may be eligible to receive an advance payment, which when combined with NIS represents 70% of their last salary. For more information, call or visit the Pension Secretariat in the Department of Public Administration, Ministerial Complex, 440-3767.
Welcome back. Social Development Minister Honorable Delma Thomas says Grenada will table the sex offenders registry by year-end, testament to her government's commitment to eradicate sexual abuse. During her contribution to the 2020 budget on Thursday, Minister Thomas challenged communities and parents to play a more active role in protecting children from possible abuse.
Policy and strategy development, strengthening the division and its network to advance gender equality and the empowerment of women, implementation of the National Gender Equality Policy and Action Plan, advocate for gender mainstreaming in national policies and plans. 2, Mr. Speaker, target measures for gender equality and empowerment of women and girls, eradicating gender-based violence, strengthening and coordinating service to victims of gender-based violence, that is domestic and sexual violence, conducting programs for the prevention of gender-based violence, advocating for enactment and enforcement of the sexual harassment legislation. So we will see that legislation coming on the table in 2020. Empowering women and girls, Mr. Speaker, conducting a program entitled Women Initiative for Skills Empowerment WISE. Assessment and highlighting gender gaps based on the labor force indicators and other sources of data, Mr. Speaker.
Minister Thomas is pleased that her ministry's 2019 focus and programs were at the heart of the 2020 budget presentation on Wednesday. The people-centered estimates of revenue and expenditure listed several initiatives of the ministry to guide its advancement to social development in 2020. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, during his presentation said, Grenada's history has shown that we are a strong, resilient people. However, we are facing unprecedented times that can dampen the strongest of spirits. Therefore, it is incumbent upon government to improve and expand its social policies and programs to protect the vulnerable among us. Among these highlighted programs for 2020 are juvenile justice, gender and family affairs, housing, social safety nets, justice system, and security.
I know the public want us to rush and get it done, but we also need those consultations. The changes in the laws, we need the bars and other consultation. Mr. Speaker, I'm hopeful that if not before the end of the year, that early in the new year, we will see changes in the law that will protect our children, we also see the tabling of the sexual offenders registry. Mr. Speaker, we will work together as a government to protect our children, the protecting of our children, Mr. Speaker. We cannot play blind, Mr. Speaker. And while as a government we have a responsibility, parents have a responsibility. As parents, we have to protect our children. We have to know who we're leaving our children with. We don't live there with anybody we meet on the side of the road.
The ministry has partnered with the EU and UN to formulate a policy which will guide its Spotlight program geared towards protecting women and girls. Finally, in the news, the Pest Management Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture is employing a number of methods to help one farmer combat a fungus affecting his produce. Proper drainage, pruning, and water control are some of the methods being used to combat the problem. We get more in this report from the Ministry of Agriculture.
Anthracnose, a fungal disease affecting plant health and farmers' pockets that cannot be eradicated but can be controlled, and this is what is being advised by the Pest Management Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture. Convened at the farm of Gregory Hagley at Syracuse St. David on Tuesday, were pest management officers rendering assistance through chemical spraying of the soursop trees planted there. Though this disease does not solely affect soursop, the effort is being placed on keeping the soursop plants healthy to maintain the high demand of Grenada's soursop on the international market. Pest Management Officer Thaddeus Peters explains the signs and symptoms of a fruit affected with the anthracnose.
You'll see a black spot, and generally the area that has this spot is generally depressed or slightly sunken. And what you may also see is that towards the center you may have some brownish areas. And once it remains even further than that, the areas may start developing some whitish growth, right? So this is basically one of the main symptoms of the anthracnose. You can also see the symptoms on the leaves. You'll see the tip of the leaves or the side of the leaves turning black as though it's burning inwards into the leaves. So once you go to your field, this will be two of the main symptoms that the farmer will recognize that he has a problem.
Francis Noel, Pest Management Officer tasked with the responsibility of assisting farmers with the controlling of pests and diseases in plants, explains the role of his team in ensuring that the disease is properly managed.
We focus this morning on anthracnose, which is something that plagues a lot of farmers, especially if they are situated in areas that have high moisture content, like high rainfall, because as Mr. Peter said, the fungus need moisture or water in order to really grow and progress. So what we try to do, we try to encourage farmers to open up their canopy to allow air and light to penetrate the tree, because once you have too many branches inside of the tree, it presents a pretty nice environment for the fungus to grow inside it. So what we try to do, we try to get them to prune, and we assist with spraying. We use oil and we use fungicide that help to retard the growth of the organism.
Tree crop farmer Gregory Hagley explains his methods used in trying to control the fungus.
The disease prevents me, as a matter of fact, from harvesting the amount of fruits that I should really harvest. Because the whole thing is, when you put labor into a field, you put labor to get results. And results could only become there when you harvest good, healthy fruits. If your fruits are not healthy, it is rejected. And every time you have rejected fruits, you lose money. My implementation of methods to deal with the anthracnose is to make sure that the trees are properly pruned, removal of the fruits, although that part of it is not a regular practice of mine. I also try to maintain my drains, so that I have good drains to avoid waterlogging, to cause acidity, which I know is very bad for the plant when it becomes acid. And anywhere there are waterlogging, you will have an infestation of anthracnose plus other diseases.
For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Karima Lewis.
That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, November 21st, 2019. Let's recap the top story. Former Finance Minister says clear protocols must be established for wage negotiations. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alec, we're starting work on the house soon, and I'll need your help.
Sure. What do you need?
I got a service application checklist from Grenlec's website.
This looks easy.
It is. We need a new service.
That's option A.
So wherever there's an A, that's something we must do in order to get the service.
So the other things without an A don't apply?
Exactly. The checklist shows us what documents to bring, the fees, and how soon we'll get the service.
So that you realize for all services, we must complete the right application form, have a valid photo ID, and a certificate from the electrical inspector?
That's right. The electrician will help us apply to the ministry for a certificate of inspection. So we'll use the checklist to get everything we need before going to Grenlec. This will make the process smooth and save lots of time.
Okay, might as well get started.
Grenlec,
energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
You know, folks, that's going to take us to the end of this week's programming. Good day, Grenada. While you were listening to the newscast there, I took a look outside. Can't get over how still, I mean still, the air is out there. It's very, very calm. There are some scattered clouds, some low clouds, middle clouds, high clouds, but the sun's shining through quite brightly. But when you look at the sea, it's like glass, absolutely flat. And obviously there's very little wind, if any, out there this morning, because a lot of the yachts you see putting out of the lagoon here and heading up the west coast, they're going up under power. No sails, no sails. Very, very still. Is it the still before the storm, the calm before the storm? I don't know, but while it's nice and peaceful, there's a little uneasiness about it. Okay, folks, parting word from the Holy Scriptures comes to you this morning from the book of Philippians. Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 to 7. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. They're reading from chapter 4, Philippians, verses 4 to 7. On that note, my dear friends, thank you so much. Been a good week, and I hope that you'll find some time to join us on Sunday morning, which is going to focus primarily around the budget. You will hear the budget presentation, but you're also going to hear some folks coming in here to let you have their thoughts about the presentation. Now, that's just part one. Part two, on Monday morning, yes, sirree, the Fiscal Alert team, the folks who join us here every Monday morning at 9:30 to talk about fiscal policies and so on and so forth, they're going to have a good time letting you have their thoughts about the presentation of the budget. So please be sure to join us for that. Laurel Bain and her team. God bless you, folks. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much for always being there. You have a great weekend. I'll see you next week, by His grace.